There was this really big story about a month ago that kicked off with this sophomore in college at Columbia. And he was grinding. He spent 600 hours studying for these things called leak code, which are like big tech interview code puzzles. Very grueling, very intense and tough. He figured out how to hack the system using AI. He built a little AI tool that's undetectable during these interviews that basically solved puzzles for him. He aced all of his big tech interviews, got an initial offer from Amazon. He shared this online, and Columbia ended up providing disciplinary action. Amazon rescinded their offer. No, it's actually good. It has a good ending to the story.
Liz, another busy week. There's never a slow week with AI, but we had ChatGPT drop the API for their image generator. We've got Google VO2. We've got Satya Nadella talking about health, which I'm personally very interested in because that's my background. Where do you want to start?
Let's actually go with some of the health stuff. And then I have a couple things on how some of these updates are actually infiltrating our culture and what we're seeing on Twitter. Some interesting examples related to that.
Okay, I'm excited. Start us off.
So, you know how people like to say that politics is downstream of culture? Well,
Yes.
tech is upstream of culture. So, tech has really obviously transformed how we behave, how we interact, obviously, how we do business. We've seen this throughout history, so no surprise there. But now with AI, it's sort of like what has been happening, how have we actually been seeing the real impacts? Like we do hear about
Mhm.
some firings, but nothing massive. But I think the way we interact is going to change. I'm somewhat long golf courses because I saw this really funny meme that I wanted to just share because it sort of represents the direction and some of the culture. And then I want to share a fun story. Just pull this up.
When you're talking about culture, you're saying like what we're seeing in tech, what we're seeing on Twitter is maybe a couple of months or even a year, whatever, before it hits the mainstream. Like those are the early adopters.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
And so it's the early adopters, but then people used to talk to each other at restaurants. Now everybody's looking at their phone. Like that is, and so we'll start seeing some of those changes of what's happening on Twitter come into mainstream. So there was this okay, I'm going to share my screen if you don't mind. Okay, so I had to recreate this meme. I saw it and I couldn't find where I bookmarked it. But basically, for those listening, it's someone showing their boss saying, look,
Here,
AI
click
can.
on it. Click on it to make the picture bigger.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay, so basically what it says is, look, AI can sort and filter your emails, and this person talking to their boss. And then on the other panel, it says, look, AI can send emails on your behalf. So basically, the implication is AI is talking to itself. Like there's an AI on both sides doing the work, and humans
Yeah.
sort of removed. So this, I think, is going to start happening more and more, obviously, as companies start implementing these tools.
Well, on the one side of the picture, it's his employee coming to him saying, look, AI can sort and filter your emails, telling the boss. And then on the other side, it's another picture, and it's now the boss telling another employee, look, AI can send emails on your behalf. The way I take that is like, in the one, his employee taught him what AI could do, and then the other, he's now firing people because of what AI could do.
Exactly.
So like we haven't necessarily seen all the firings yet, but that's coming.
Absolutely. And I think then the other piece too is it's like you're going to be getting bombarded with emails. So people are going to be trying to have human to
Yeah.
human relationships, which is great. But it's sort of funny how that sort of goes full circle where business used to be done on the golf course. And now in the future, business will probably get done on the golf course.
Yeah.
Cold email. So, but this sort of brought up sort of another few ideas because in hiring right now as well, what you're seeing, I think this is being represented a lot because you have these ATS systems. I don't even know what the application tracking system.
Applicant tracking system. Yeah.
Yeah. So they filter out like all these people. So it's really hard for people to penetrate, and then people on the flip side are also using a lot of AI tools to like present themselves. And there was this really big story about a month ago that kicked off with this sophomore in college at Columbia. And he was grinding. I guess he spent about like 600 hours studying for these things called leak code, which are like big tech interview code puzzles. So very grueling, very intense and tough. So he figured out how to hack the system. using AI. So he built a little AI tool that's undetectable during these interviews that basically solves
Okay.
puzzles for you. So, of course, he aced all of his big tech interviews. I think got an initial offer from Amazon. Then he shared this online, of course, and Columbia ended up basically providing disciplinary action. And then Amazon rescinded their offer after he shared this. It's actually good. So
Oh, it's good.
it's good. It has a good ending to the story.
Okay. Okay.
So then he drops out of college, raises a bunch of money from VCs, and already, I think, has a couple $1 million in revenue from a new company he just started. Hold on. This guy's name is Roy Lee. Where did I have here's he started this company called Cluely. This guy called,
So he
yeah.
so he gets disciplined by Columbia, offer rescinded from Amazon, and he decides, I'm going to go start a company.
Exactly. So he first did this tool called Interview Coder, which is the tool he was using. He started
Mhm.
selling that. Then he drops out, obviously, and then launches this company, which basically helps salespeople sort of cheat on their conversations. And this little video. So he sort of showed example of, I guess he's on a date here and like helping him through the conversation wearing these little glasses. So this brings up like a bunch of different ideas of the direction of AI, which I think is pretty cool. So one, yes, going to help people as they're doing any sort of activity in the real world with having sort of just in time knowledge or just in time intelligence, where you don't have to necessarily always be as prepared. So for salespeople, they can and help coach them and develop their skills. But also you could have like a B player who just wants to use AI become an A player. So I think there's going to be this interesting equalizing factor that's going to play out with these different tools. And then this guy was wearing glasses. The other thing people aren't really talking about right now is this intersection between the hardware and AI. And so this is what's called like augmented reality, which there's been a lot of barriers and friction points to do that. You now have that little pendant thing, which is great. But then the glasses, which, Google glasses, Meta glasses, VR, like all of that's been coming to the forefront and making, small little strides. But in the future, people are going to have these glasses and there's going to be, I think, a lot of business applications before even a ton of consumer ones. At least I hope so, because I don't ever want to be in an experience like that where someone's like doing an analysis while they're talking to me in the glasses. But like, just think about, I know you said you were using your phone for helping around your, for landscape,
Lawn.
for lawn. Exactly.
Yeah.
So now there's still friction from like a trades perspective of like you'd have to take your phone to do an analysis to help you and facilitate stuff. It's also still expensive to develop those proprietary apps. And then for those sort of public consumer apps you can download on the phone that help with this analysis, they're like, okay. But one, the cost is obviously now becoming so minimal. I did on another video developing one of those apps for folks. But the glasses component create a whole new world of opportunity because your hands free. And so
Well,
if you're like a plumber, you have these glasses that can help in real time evaluate, even doing like water assessment or whatever, and like a whole bunch of different use cases there. So I'm really bullish on that segment of where AI is enabling.
I've been thinking about this with the pendant in particular. I think one of the cool use cases for the pendant is for sales teams. Because right now, how do you check whether or not your sales reps are doing a good job? You're going on ride-alongs and you're assessing them in the field. And most of the time it's like their best behavior. And so you're getting the best version of them and then you're giving them feedback. But if you're a company and you have dozens of sales employees, how do you get the assessment of them? Either just through their numbers, so you have a sink or swim mentality, or you go on ride-alongs, which takes a lot of time. Well, what if you're recording all those conversations and at the end of the day, you're having AI analyze it and then give you feedback for, here are the 3 sales reps that need help. These are the problems that they're having. And then you go proactively and work with them. It cuts down on the amount of time assessing the problem and allows you more time to fix the problem. And so I think that's kind of the same way you're talking about with bringing video into these classes or into the trades. It'll allow them to assess and diagnose quicker so that they're not wasting time doing those things.
1,000%. And actually on that point too, so when I was, again, working in this large company, we had that specific pain point. We implemented one of the transcription tools, which was great for our cold calling reps, our sales. but we couldn't do anything with the people that actually had like a ton of sales skill, which were our road warriors. And so the pendant solves for that gap. So I love that use case that you just shared, because it really is impactful.
The other thing I was going to say is I haven't used it yet, but I've heard, I think it's Google's Studio, or I don't know the exact word, but you can be coding and in real time, it'll be looking at your screen and tell you where you're messing up.
Yep.
As opposed to you code, do something and you're like, crap, it's not working. And then copy and paste and then go ask Google, where did I mess up? And then it tell you. How does that work? Do you know how that works?
Yeah. So I actually did that yesterday. So I was building out in a video that I don't know whenever it'll come out, for building out this lawn assessment app.
I've only heard it from a coder who said that that's how they use it. Is that the only use case for it, or are there other?
I was using it that way, but I would say anything you could share on your desktop at the moment. I haven't tried it obviously on mobile. I don't even know if it's accessible on mobile. For sure, if you're looking at something, maybe you need to analyze data or other information. So anything you could share visually, I would imagine it could be helpful if you have questions. Yeah, so basically Google's coming out with all of these cool, really useful tools, integrating it in different modalities as well, whether it's voice, text, or visual. And they're doing a really good job with video analysis, I think, beyond, ChatGPT again is like, I think on par now too. And I haven't played with Grok, but apparently they had some new releases too.
There's so much to keep up on.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
It's
a good thing we don't have jobs.
I know, right? And that's the opportunity, is like, if you do have capacity and time, just think about the day-to-day of a person. Like, they don't have time to go play with this, then figure out the use cases and applications. So
yeah, I know. You had some cool stuff that you wanted to show today in Claude.
Yeah. So it's simple stuff, but no one's talking about it. And I think it's really awesome. I was really pumped just to see some features pop up on my feed. Let me pull up yeah, so we're looking at the Claude interface, and it just keeps getting better. They just keep rolling out little features. They keep getting better with their code. And I just discover things that I think I'm going to have to go do multiple steps, iterations like I have historically. And all of a sudden, Claude comes out with some new cool use cases. So the first thing I wanted to share is they've been the pioneers in this thing called MCP. We'll get into what MCP is in a second. But basically, that is allowing you to connect tools to your LLMs. And so what does that mean? So basically right now, like as you were talking about last week, that these LLMs are going out and being able to search the web and have agentic behavior and doing more than just, rewrite something or analyze an input of text. They're able to gather information from the web, and that's been exciting, or start writing code. But now they're going to be able to start doing things like actually interacting with other software tools, interacting with these things called APIs historically, which is how you access those software tools. And the old way of being able to leverage connecting tools was you would have to go to make.com, Lindy, all those tools to be able to connect them together and create, again, workflows like we've talked about. Now the LLMs are actually starting to take over some of that functionality by incorporating them directly into the LLMs. So this is what happened with Claude. I came in and one of their first integrations was like Google Drive, which was huge. You could then search and query your Google Docs and get summaries and reference to information versus having to constantly upload new files.
Hey, I don't know if you remember this, but when we started this podcast, we entered into a social contract. I would spend time, energy, and money producing this podcast, interviewing these individuals and giving you insights into how to build, buy, start, grow your business. And you would like, subscribe, and leave me 5-star review. Now, out of that, we both get to talk to really cool people and hear really cool insights. We both get a ton of value. But I just want to help you keep your word. So would you do me a favor? Will you go leave a 5-star review for me on Apple or Spotify? It would really help. And if you want, even share this with a friend.
Now they're expanding that to the rest of the Google suite. And I suspect this is just the beginning. So you go into the interface, there's this 4 little boxes called connected apps. You click on that and it pulls up obviously Google Drive, but also Google Calendar, your Gmail, and GitHub if you're a developer. So I think this is just the beginning. I think we're going to start seeing a ton more of these connected apps that you can do things. So
okay, hold on. So can I take a step? Because I'm the idiot on this podcast. So I learned about MCPs. It's called the Model Context Protocol. It's effectively the protocol that they've written that allows them to access these things. So, for an example, for someone who's an idiot like I am, let's say that you want to write an email campaign for your business. Well, you're going to need Klaviyo, which sends the emails. You're going to need ChatGPT, which helps you write the emails. You're going to need your brand style guide that talks about your product. You're going to need potentially artwork, something else like that. And so what happens is you've got like 7 windows open and you're going and you're copying and pasting amongst those windows. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Let me copy and paste my brand style guide. I'll put it into ChatGPT. Let me tell ChatGPT, based on my style guide, write me a new email campaign for this new product we have. And then it'll give you an answer. And then you take that and you take it to your email and you put it in your email and you're like, okay, Klaviyo, I want you to send this email to my list. And so it's like this constant literal context switching. You're copy pasting into different things. Now with MCP, Claude becomes the interface and you can tell Claude and say, okay, Claude, using my style guide, I want you to write this for this new product. Okay, cool. Now that you've written that, I want you to send an email to my list and it'll go interface with Klaviyo and it'll go interface with your style guide and it'll go interface with Canva to make it. So effectively what it's done is it's turned Claude into your everything window that you operate through, and it's pulling on those softwares instead of the copy and pasting that you're currently doing.
Absolutely.
Now that being said, you freaking blew my mind. Will you go back to the Claude window?
Absolutely.
You're going to judge me so hard. I didn't even know you could integrate Google Drive.
Oh, okay. No, that's great.
Yeah. Can you show me that? What do you mean it can summarize documents?
Yeah. So if you go to this little plus sign, I think this is where, you can do add from Google Drive, and then it'll pull up. Obviously, I was doing some stuff with Twitter.
And I can search?
Yeah. Yep. You can search, you can pull it up.
Oh my gosh.
If it doesn't populate right away, then you can just copy and paste the link and then do that. You can pull in a bunch of different docs.
Because I literally just copy and paste. I have my Google Drive open. I have like 4 different windows of Google Drive. I'm copy and pasting documents and putting them in. I can just do it from here.
Yes, you can literally do that.
I'm so stupid.
No, you're not.
Oh my God.
Even it's like, there's so much of a bombardment of information. You have to parse through it. And, people aren't always like, I'm not always clicking every button that pops up on the screen, to be like, what's here? Because again, everybody's busy. So yeah.
So go back to the Google Drive. I could upload multiple documents.
Oh yeah. Up to their capacity. Their context window is smaller than ChatGPT and Gemini, but I think ChatGPT is also integrated with Google Drive now.
Yeah.
And
I've seen the button. I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
What if I don't know the name of the file? What if I know it's like, oh, it's in the Liz folder. I just can't remember the name of the file.
Just go look for it and copy and paste the link. Gemini does a better job of actually hunting it down if you're in your Drive in a business workspace. I don't think it's accessible for personal. But yeah, you do need to actually know what documents to reference. But
okay, let me ask this. So one of the things that I've used ChatGPT for in particular is like cleaning documents. So I have a lot of transcripts. They've got ums and ahs and filler words and timestamps that I don't want, yada, yada, yada. And I want that all taken out because I'm asking the AI to synthesize this information.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask it to create a doc in my Google Drive? Because if you say yes, I'm leaving.
No.
I'm done.
So no, not yet.
Oh,
I know.
okay.
But it's getting there. But let me give you the workflow that it will be super easy and can be set up pretty quickly. And maybe we'll do this next week with MCP. And this is the use case.
Uh-huh.
So what you could do with MCP, so most of the MCPs seems to be one way versus the other way, but you could leverage either Zapier or any of the automation tools. I've been using N8N to basically do that and trigger that creation. So there's one step, but
because ChatGPT will ask me, like, I use it a lot for, hey, create me an SOP, create me a workflow, create me a summarization of this conversation. And then it will ask me, it's like, oh, would you like me to put this in a Notion template? Or would you like me to put this in a Google Doc? Is it saying that it will actually create that for me? Or is it just saying it will give me that and I still have to copy and paste it and put it into Notion or the Google Doc?
Yeah. So actually, I don't know that. I think from ChatGPT, you still have to create that. But again, this sort of like agentic behavior where it's starting to be able to do things on your behalf, that is like only, I would say, a couple months away. And you can actually set that up with automations. So if you basically create, again, an automation in Make, in N8N or Zapier, you could trigger that from here if you have MCP integrated, where then you basically say, go and create that, and it'll go and do that for you. So we can demo that next week, where it's a simple.
Yeah. Geez.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for the rest of the day. I'm going to be like, I had no idea. I'm going to be connecting my freaking Google Drive to all of this stuff because I'm an idiot. And wow.
Yeah. But the other point on that too, that you were mentioning of like go and create, like a simple thing that I have found also exciting is that you can now from Claude, it creates like code, it'll create all these different types of documents. Previously, you either had to copy the code or you would have to copy and paste or download something called Markdown, which is just like a text file basically. Now they're integrating other file formats. And for me, that's exciting because again, it's that extra step of then having to go and convert the thing into whatever document format. So I was really pumped about that as well, because PDF is now accessible, which is huge in my mind, as well as like JSON. And this week, let me see if I can do this real quick for you. I created the file for an N8N, which is again like a Make blueprint or a Make, any of these, again, tools automations where you have to go drag and drop everything. It actually generated all of the code. I uploaded that document into N8N and it had all of the modules there for me. So let me see if I can really quickly do this for you. So let's even do your use case. Create an N8N JSON file, search the web for appropriate documentation for N8N. The workflow should be when I add a folder, or when I add a file to Google Drive, it then creates a draft email. We'll just do something simple. Ask any questions or provide additional feedback and steps for building out the JSON. All right, let's see. Define where I did this the other day because it was like a very extensive one. This is super simple, but let's see if this works. And while that's doing that, let me pull up N8N.
I have this Chrome extension called Echoes. And it allows me to search ChatGPT, Claude for my conversations. You know how like right now it's difficult to search where you're like, hey, what was that thing I was talking about? Like it doesn't allow you to like cross search across chats and conversations. That's what this does. And so I have it enabled and I can go into it and be like, where was I talking about creating this legal entity with so-and-so? And it'll find it. And
all right, so we downloaded the JSON. All right, so let's see if this works. Okay, so this is, don't get intimidated by this. This is the more complex.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know that for me, that's like really exciting because again,
that's amazing.
What you would have to do is literally, and you can do this for more complex ones. I had ones that were like 10 steps the other day that like just built this out. And I was like, well, there's this weird thing. I have to loop or iterate or blah, blah, blah.
Well, we're talking about automations. And I think anybody who's listening to this who's a business owner, 90% of them are going to be like, too hard, over my head.
Yep.
I think this is cool. I think 10% of people will think this is cool.
Yeah.
But for the 90% who are like, I'm never going to spend the time to figure it out, go back to just, Claude, where you can integrate your Google Drive. And think about this as a business owner. If you're storing any documents to the Google Drive, you can now go and say, hey, I want to look at that invoice that this company sent us. And I know it's saved on the Google Drive. Pull it in and have ChatGPT or Claude review it and say, does this look right to you? Is there anything that stands out? Oh, I got this proposal from a company. Does this look right to you? What stands out? I've got now a legal document. I know that so-and-so uploaded that to the drive. Let's have ChatGPT review that legal document and tell me if there's any risks associated with it. It takes that like one step of finding the doc, copying it, and then pasting it into ChatGPT. It removes that friction. And for anybody who's been doing that, you know that it is friction. I know it's stupid, but it is a little bit of friction. Now you have it natively. And as you start to do that, then you'll start to realize the power of MCP. Then you realize like, oh, we can do more of this. Oh my, MCP is going to be freaking amazing. So if you're a business owner, go do that. Connect it to your Google Drive and you can start accessing your Google Docs from there instead of going to the drive and copying and pasting.
Absolutely. In projects in Claude, it allows you to basically keep documents persistent, because in a chat, at some point, you'll hit a limit of the number of times you can talk or the size and all that. If you keep in your project knowledge, you can keep those documents there so you can reference them back and forth for new, like let's say you have a framework for your invoices or your legal or whatever it is, you can just always keep them in your product knowledge and then have additional chats and say, okay, now I got this new invoice. Does this meet the standards or blah, blah, blah.
Can I ask you this? A lot of people that I know use Claude for their projects. For me, for the dummy person, I don't see any difference between the functionality of Claude and ChatGPT's projects. You can create projects, cool. You can add additional documents for context, cool. It saves those documents and references them when you ask it. Why do I see more people, though, who are in the know using Claude's projects versus ChatGPT's?
I wish I had a good answer for that. I just like Claude better. I use all of the different LLMs, but I just always like the responses better. So that's sort of.
And so it's a preference thing for you.
I think it's a preference thing. I think you can accomplish the same ultimate goals with both. But again, like stylistically and from an output, it just seems like Claude is it's just better.
So have you tested the Gmail integration now with Claude?
Oh, yeah. So
what does that do?
Okay. So you can't write emails yet unless you connect again.
But can it read and analyze them?
Yeah. So I have it.
Shut the front door, Liz.
Okay. I'm trying to think what I have, which I don't even know. I have a bunch of email accounts. So let me think which one I have it connected to. But okay, this will probably pull up some of I think this is personal. I have a bunch of newsletters. And
okay. Well, before you even do personal, could I say, hey, how many unread emails do I have right now?
Yeah. I'm not going to do that because it's connected to my personal, and
That's okay. That's okay. No. Could you say, what was the last email I got from Liz?
Yeah.
Shut up.
So it keeps.
Are you serious?
Yep. And same with your meeting. So I can say, let's even see if it knows I'm having a meeting with you right now. What meeting should I be in right now according to my calendar? Hopefully,
it'll blow my mind if this answers it correctly.
I'm also making sure what calendar.
It's looking at the calendar. Looking at your calendar. Currently in your time zone. Stephen Hawking is displaying some code on the screen. Numeric, metric.
There you go.
Based on your current time. Oh, dude, yeah. Podcast recording, Nick and Liz. Shut up. Oh my gosh. That's insanity.
Yep. I gave the meeting notes and everything, so you don't have to go. And it's like that context switching that has been painful. You'd have 30 tabs open. It's basically making everything converge into the chat window.
Do you know how ChatGPT has tasks that you can schedule?
Yes.
Can you schedule tasks with Claude?
That's a good question. You'd probably
because ChatGPT doesn't have the Gmail integration; it just has the Drive.
Right. I'll set that up as an MCP where it probably could do that. I'm doing that through automations right now,
but not natively.
Not natively yet that I've seen. I could be missing because again, it's like every day you're like, what? Something exciting and new. So if anyone in the audience knows of that already, let us know.
Here's a quick caveman tip that I just learned. It's nothing compared to what Liz has just shown us. I use ChatGPT so much. I have done a bunch of folders and projects, etc. 2 days ago, I asked it, hey, what's on my to-do list today? Because I was curious. It was 95% correct. Like the only things that it didn't know were things that obviously it wouldn't know because I hadn't entered the information in. But it even gave me things that I didn't even remember. It was incredible. So the more integrated that it gets, the better you're going to be able to say like, hey, which emails do I need to respond? That's going to be an interesting one. Could you say which emails do I need to respond to? And through context, it will be able to say that?
Yeah, it should. I would say what I have found is it's like not as perfect as it needs to be yet, but it's pretty good. So you just have to be really good with your prompting and it'll get better. And I'm sure, again, this is the worst this is ever going to be. So again, yes, but yes, you can do, and just give it the context of what means that you have to respond to it. Like if you have, non-spam, if it doesn't say unsubscribe, because then it's a newsletter, or whatever other parameters to qualify that. Any guidance you can give always helps the LLMs.
People were hiring VAs for personal assistants. This becomes like a personal assistant, which is nuts. With the Gmail integration, that is nuts.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't yet create things. That's the other thing. So it's usually a one way. I'm still keep pushing it. And I know one of these days it'll have the ability to go and create things. But at least, again, it's from a consumption standpoint, you're now one-stop shop interface.
Yeah, you're removing a little bit of friction at a time. Liz, as always, you blew my mind. Thank you. For those listening, go check this out. Go to Claude right now. It's going to be amazing. All right. Thanks, Liz.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Hopefully you liked that episode. And if you've made it this far, you're either really committed or you're stuck doing yard work and you can't actually skip on your phone. So while I have you, the show is growing, but I have a favor to ask of you. Will you please help me grow the show? I want to reach more people. There's a couple things that you can do. Like and subscribe is the simplest thing. Obviously, you want to get notifications for when the next episode is coming out. But if you go the next step, will you leave me a review? 5-star on Spotify or Apple. What that does is it tells the algorithm that, oh, hey, this is a high value podcast because more people are leaving reviews for it, and it then pushes it out to more people. So that's why when people are like, will you like and subscribe and put a 5-star rating? It's not just to make themselves feel better. It's actually to get more exposure for the show. So if you do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.